Again, a moment with Dr. Audrey Ann Moses on Emerald City Radio at 10 a.m. every Thursday. Good morning, good morning, good morning. How's everybody doing? This is Dr. Audrey Ann Moses, and this is a moment with Dr. Audrey Ann. And of course, it's a beautiful day in Greenwood. Everybody is kind of trying to get themselves accustomed to being cold, and now we're hot, So, but I don't complain because I do not like being cold. So if it's 200 degrees, I'm gonna figure out how to handle it, because the opposite is what? 10 degrees, and I don't like that at all. So how's everybody doing? Again, we are here at Emerald City Radio, WCZZ 102.7 FM and 1090 AM. And today, we're going to talk a little bit about grief. Now, I know we've talked about grief before, and we have, on different situations. But I just wanted to talk about grief because there's been a lot going on here lately. Here in Greenwood, there's been a lot of sadness, and even other places, in California, 2 teenagers decided that they had the right to decide who lives and who dies. Children, and and then here in Greenwood, we had an awful tragedy here. And so we are just all coming to come. We are all coming back together. We are all coming, getting our lives back together. And I just want to let the family know, Officer DJ, I want to let the family, his family know that we are still praying for them. We are still here for them. Just let whoever is nearest to you know what you need, and we will help you. So, and for the teenagers that were in the car, they are hurt. They are, physically hurt, and of course, their families. We need to reach out to their families as well, because it's not like just one side hurts and the other side doesn't. Everybody hurts. Everybody is affected. Everybody in Greenwood is affected. So let's rally together. Let's start working more with our young people to help them to understand what it really means to pick right from wrong. Life is not a video game. People don't just pop up, after you, shoot them or knock them down or whatever it is you do. They don't just pop up in the next screen. That's not reality. Reality is, if you hurt somebody, they're going to be hurt, period. So, and life is too short for us to be doing just things that is I can't even find the right words to use. Just be out here just taking for granted the lives of others, taking for granted the happiness of others. Life is too short for that. So anyway, I wrote an article. I'm sure I brought some of this to you all a while back, but I want to bring it again. I wrote an article entitled "When the Heart Hurts, Walking Through Grief with Grace." And this part is just understanding what grief really is and what it is not. And so when the heart hurts, walking through grief this is going to be a series that I'm writing articles for. So it's going to be a series. This is part 1, and discussing survival after loss. How do we survive after the loss? Especially now, like I was saying, in this world where everything is rushed and where everything is, people just don't give people a opportunity to heal. They don't give people an opportunity to understand what happened and how they are supposed to move on from here. You know, so that I just wanted to kind of bring all of that back to you all so that you would know, you know, how to deal with grief yourself and how to help others. Because a lot of people are grieving for one reason or another. They're grieving because there was a death. They're grieving because loss of their health. They're grieving loss of a job, loss of a relationship, loss of something. And it doesn't really matter what the loss is. The grief is still the same. And people have to work their way through it. You know, can you imagine someone that was working at a company for 15 years, almost 20 years maybe, and then they find out that their position has been eliminated. You know, somebody takes over the company and the new people decide they don't need your position anymore. So they eliminate your position, which means they've eliminated you as well. That's grief. That's grief. That's something, that's a loss. That's a loss that has to be dealt with. You know, so, you know, relationships, you know, you're in a relationship, you're in it, you know, you're putting all your all in all in it, and then it dissolves. That's a loss. So, so we have to look at all of these things and figure out what do we do while we're walking through this grief. So my machine decided to do something different. Sorry about that. So what are some of the things we do when we're in sadness, when we're in grief, when we're in depression? Grief causes depression. When we're in depression, when we're stressed, the first thing we do is we stop calling people. We stop calling people. We stop doing the things that we normally do. We stop cooking for pleasure. And you know me, I love cooking, and I love food. And so you should have food for pleasure, the enjoyment of eating your food, the enjoyment of cooking your food, not just cooking for nourishment, eating for nourishment, okay? So, but when you are in depression, when you're in grief, when you're in sadness, when you're in all of those things, sometimes that's what we do. We stop eating. You know, we just eat what we have to do so we don't, you know, pass out. We stop doing the small things that used to bring us joy. You know, for those of you that know me, if I'm winter or summer, if I'm not doing something that deals with flowers and vegetables, I just stop for weeks and don't have any desire, then you know something's wrong with me. Because you know I love my garden. That's my happy place. And so, and if I'm not out dealing in my garden, now sometimes I go in my garden to deal with issues, because playing in the dirt is a beautiful stress release. And so so what we have to do is just so for me, even if I'm stressed, I will play in the dirt. Even if my garden is not set up in the wintertime, I have flowers on my patio, on my deck in my front, so I will play in those. Whatever I have in my house, I will play in that. You know, and it's talk to the plants, because they talk back. I'm telling you, they talk back. So so just look, you know, those are the type of things that if I'm not doing those type of things, if I'm not at church, if I'm not singing, if I'm not writing, if I'm not doing those things, you know, then something is wrong with me, and you all need to check on me and figure out what it is, you know, because something is wrong. You know, even if we attend grief sessions, now there are grief sessions, several of them in Greenwood, You know, so say we decide to attend a grief session. We attend a grief session, and we go, we may or may not talk, you know, we get advice, and we come home and we close the curtains and we sit in our house. So life is going to continue to move forward, whether we move forward with it or not. So we have to, you know, start pulling ourselves together. So how do we do that? You know, my favorite psalm is Psalms 23, and it reminds us that the shepherd walks with us, guiding us gently when we feel emotionally exhausted and spiritually drained. And that's what depression is. That's what, you know, once you have high levels of stress, that's what it is. But we have to remember our mental health during grief is shaped not only by what others say to us, but also by what we say to ourselves. You know, others will say, well, I know you miss, you know, so-and-so. Oh, I know you miss your job. I know you miss whatever it is. But, you know, you got to move on. You know, if a person is telling you that, you don't have to jump down their throat. Just say, oh, okay. You know, just say, oh, okay. And then just do what you got to do. You know, so because it's not always that you, that it's not always that you are going to bounce back immediately. And sometimes you will bounce back, and sometimes you will not immediately. So you have to kind of pull yourself together and listen to what people say, or don't listen to what people say, but don't let it decide for you how you are going to heal. So I want to tell you what grief is and the difference between grief and mourning, because a lot of times we use it interchangeably, and it does go together, but it doesn't mean the same thing. Grief is internal. Grief is what we hold inside of us. You know, when my sister passed, and then my aunt passed, and then my mother passed, that was a lot within a 6-month period to lose 3 major people in your life. My dad passed, it's been more than 20 years ago, but there are times now that I still feel him. You know, I feel the loss of him inside. So it is the private experience of sadness, of anger, of confusion and longing, and sometimes even relief in certain circumstances. You know, if you are a caretaker and you have been taking care of someone and they have gotten gradually more and more ill, and you know that they are hurting, you know that they are miserable in their illness, you know, dementia or whatever, you know, even though you are grieving that that person has left internally, you are still feeling that, well, at least they are at peace now. That person is at peace. What is mourning? Mourning is external. Mourning is what you do that people see. You know, mourning is what you have to work your way through while you're planning funerals, or while you're looking for another job, or you're trying to figure out where do you go from here because your relationship has fell completely apart. You know, so those, or even for pets, you know, people that lose their pets go through mourning just as if it was a human. So don't be mean to them because they lost their pet, because that pet has been with them all its life, and now they're gone. You know, so mourning is external, is what we express, how we express our grief outwardly, you know, for people to see. You know, again, funerals, memorials, rituals, whatever. We tell stories about the person. We do whatever it is we do so that we can remember that person, or remember whatever, you know, the relationship. And we're going to talk about the loss of relationships as part of this series, because loss of relationships does look different than loss of a human that you loved. Okay. Grief is what we carry within us. Mourning is how we release the brokenness that we feel. So do both matter? Are both important? Absolutely. Both have their place, and nobody should rob you of that. Every human needs their time for grief. Every human needs their time for mourning. Grief doesn't always last as long because you learn within yourself how to deal with that loss. But externally, you know, the mourning is still something that has to be dealt with. And so, you know, because again, you don't want to deal with the grief. I mean, you don't want to deal with the depression of the loss. You don't want to deal with the stress of the loss, but you have to, because what? Maybe you have to, you know, for people that have lost spouses, they know what they have to go through. They have to go through the courts, maybe. They have to go through putting everything back in order, you know, changing names on different, you know, on cars or on the house or on whatever it is they have to do. All of the legal stuff that has to be done because you have lost a spouse, you know, or lost a child, or you know, whatever the loss is. If you have lost your job, now what do you have to do? You're mourning, but in that mourning, you still have to find another job. You know, you still have to redo your resume. You still have to, or if you decide, if you're far enough along in that job that you can just retire, now you have to decide, what are you going to do now that you're retired? How long is your money going to last? All of those things become a part of that mourning, because you have to deal with those things, those outward things, while you're still dealing with the grief internally. All of you, I'm sure, at one point or another, have heard the steps of grief. You know, what the movements, I call it emotional movements of grief. You know, the shock and the denial, you know, about what had happened, the pain and the guilt and the anger, you know, because sometimes people feel like it's their fault. You know, I read a story once about a girl. She was 17 or 18, driving the car with her mother in the car, and they had an accident because she looked at her phone. And for a brief second, but that's all it takes to have an accident. Her mother had permanent brain damage because of that accident. And she, because of her pain, because of the daughter's pain and the daughter's grief and the anger at herself, she just dropped everything. She didn't go to college. She didn't go pursue her things. She just took whatever job she could take to take care of her mother. And that's what she did for years, until someone came along that was able to help her to be able to do both, you know. And literally it was retraining the girl to understand that, you know, the other person ran a red light, but she felt it was still her fault because she looked at her phone, you know. And so someone had to come and help her to deal with that grief, to deal with that pain, to deal with that anger at herself, so that she can then learn how to take care of herself and her mother, you know. And so, you know, we go through things like that. Depression and loneliness, we go through depression of whatever the situation is, the loneliness. Even if somebody loses their job, the loneliness, even though they have their family and their friends and everybody around them, they might be looking for another job, but the loneliness comes because they miss the people they used to work with. They miss the environment where they were. They miss the, you know, everything about the old job that they had not planned on losing, you know. So so they have to learn how to let that go. Remember the good things, of course, but let that go so that they can put themselves physically and emotionally in their new life. You know, so you can't have this half and half life, So you're either going to be there mourning over what used to be, or you're going to move on and start putting your energy into what's new and what you have going on now. So that's depression and loneliness. And then you start working through it. And the working through is put smiles on your face. But all of this, it's really difficult to do all of this on your own. The working through it, the acceptance and the hope. You start saying, okay, well, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. But you can't do any of this alone. You need humans in your life. You need people in your life that are pouring into you, and you have to start pouring into others as well, and surrounding you. And you also have to have God in your space. You have to, and that's why I like Psalms 23, because Psalms 23 helps you to walk through that grief. The Lord is my shepherd; I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. That means he helps me to be still. He helps me to get rid of some of that stress, to be calm. So those are the things that you want to start working through. If even if you are not a Bible reading person, even if you think that you don't need to go to church, read Psalms 23. Make a copy of it, put it someplace where you can see it. Because reading those, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. It says, those are things that will help you to see that, okay, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. So just try it for a while. Read Psalms 23 as often as you can. Or like I said, just make a copy of it and put it on your desk, put it on your wall, put it on your mirror, put it in your notebook, wherever, in your planner, wherever, so that you can see it often. And it will help you to start revive. I'm telling you this is the truth, because it will. So, but we have to understand that we cannot let people destroy our peace. We can't. We can't let people put us in a position, and we can't put ourselves in that position either. I know sometimes I find myself destroying my own peace, because I'm so worried about something that I have no control over. So I have had to talk to myself. I have had other people talking to me say, you just need to let that go. I'm on the radio here in Greenwood, but I'm also on Facebook Live, and my darling adopted daughter, Jacqueline Cox, Dr. Jacqueline Cox, is on it, and she says something very phenomenal. She says, things and people that disrupt my peace have to flee. And that's exactly what we have to look at, that we can't, but we can't make them flee. We make ourselves flee. So if we move away if we allow our minds to move away from whatever that disturbance is, then we can continue on. And usually that comes, especially when we're looking at grief, that comes because people have a tendency to, how should I say it? Tell you what you should be doing. Tell you what they think you should be doing. Well, my mama died, and it didn't take me that long to get over it. What's wrong with you? Or with siblings. One sibling may get over it really quick. Another sibling may take years, But the one sibling that moved on quicker cannot downgrade the other sibling. The one sibling that moved on quicker should be pouring into the other one, loving on the other one, helping the other one to understand that grief is not healthy, that this long-term mourning is not healthy, So as opposed to criticizing them. Our own thoughts. If we continually tell ourselves, I'm not going to make it, I'm not going to make it, I'm not going to make it, then you're not going to make it. But if we tell ourselves that, this is a horrible thing that has happened, but, I'm going to pursue, I'm going to go check into what I need to check into, I'm going to do whatever I need to do so that I can survive. So, and if we start telling ourselves that we are going to be better, we are going to be okay, as opposed to telling ourselves that we are not going to make it. Because I'm going to tell you something. Whatever we tell our brains, we talked about this before, whatever we tell our brains is what our brains are going to do. Whatever we tell it. If we tell our brains to be sad continuously, then we are going to be, our brain is going to do what it has to do so that we are sad continuously. If we tell our brain that we are going to be happy, if we tell our heart, if we tell our spirit that we are going to be happy, then we are going to be happy. And there is nothing wrong with that. There is no sin in being happy, even after we have lost. There is no sin in being happy. There is no sin in moving on. There is no sin in that. So what we have to do is to just keep moving, keep moving. The good news is this, and the time goes by so fast, I'm just like, ugh, but the good news is this: our thoughts can also become anchors, like I'm saying, especially when the psalmist says, we remember that the shepherd is always with us, always ready to confront us, always ready to hold us and hug us and tell us what we're doing right and wrong. We just have to want to listen, because the Holy Spirit is going to tell us, I don't know why you're sitting around here like this. If your spouse died, I don't know why you're sitting around here. Your spouse would not want you sitting around here in the dark. Get yourself together, move forward. There are things that you can do. So, but positive thinking is not denial, it's a discipline. If the more you start positively thinking about things, even about the people that have hurt you, even about the people that you have lost, even about, whatever it is, the more positive you think, the better off you're going to be. And it's going to become a discipline for you, not a ritual. It's just going to be what it is. It's going to be what you do. You choose the type of language that you want your brain to tell your body to respond to. You choose that language, okay? Not other people, not something you read, not the enemy. You make that decision. So invest in meaningful present relationships, not what you lost, but what is still here. So I have seen people who have lost a child, and because they lost a child, they ignored all the other children. They have 1, 2, 3 other children in the house, but they so busy mourning over the child that they lost that they neglect the children that are still there. Don't do that, okay? Don't do that. Continue learning and growing. Contribute to your community. Get out of the house. Do things. Help at the food bank. Help a neighbor. Do something. Get out of your house and into the community. Start doing more things at your church. Because as you do those, that ugly spirit is going to have to move out, because an ugly spirit cannot live in the same place where where happiness is. Ugly spirits, you always see it a lot. The devil cannot live in the same place where Jesus lives. It's impossible. So you choose who lives in yourself, in your mind. You make that choice. Allow yourselves new experiences. Okay, you cannot change what happened, We do not know what tomorrow is going to hold. And nevertheless, with each passing day, we can trust that our faith is sufficient. Because Jesus does what? He prepares a table before us in the presence of our enemies, and sometimes we are our enemies. So he prepares a table before us to let us know that we can do better, and we should do better. So I have some questions for you, and I'm going to read them slow enough so you can write them down. Okay. I want you to consider these. And take your time considering them. As I grieve, what has changed in my daily routine? Now that I'm grieving, what is it that I do that I didn't do? What is it that I don't do that I used to do? Okay. What have I stopped doing? Again, that's what I said. What have I stopped doing that brought me joy? What am I repeatedly telling myself about the loss and about my position now because of the loss? Are my thoughts helping me heal or keeping me stuck? Which is it? What am I repeatedly telling myself about the loss, and are my thoughts helping me heal or keeping me stuck? And the last one, who can I speak honestly to about what I'm feeling? Who can I call? You know, there's somebody you can call. You know, you can call me. You know, and there are others that you can call if you like. But who can you call? So think about these things. You know, you're grieving. How has your life changed? How has your daily routine changed? Are you doing the things that used to bring you joy, or did you set those aside because you feel guilty being happy? What are you telling yourself about the loss? And how are you letting yourself heal? Or are you letting yourself heal? And who can you talk to? So I hope this helps some, especially with everything that's going on in everybody's everyday life. And so, again, this is Dr. Audrey Ann Moses. You know how to find me. TransitionLifeCoachForYou.com is the number 4 letter U, and my website is up now and published, so you can go straight to my website now. TransitionLifeCoachForYou.com, and my phone number 864-337-1888. If you call me, please leave a message, because you know, if you don't call me, then I don't know you called. So just leave a message, your name, phone number, and that way I'll know who I'm, to call you back. I love you. Take care. God loves you. Have a beautiful day. It's beautiful outside. And so enjoy your day. Take care. This is Emerald City Radio, 102.7 FM and 1090 AM in beautiful Greenwood, South Carolina. Emerald City Radio. We love you. Take care. Bye. R&B